Good morning. My name is Michael Roylance. Given that everyone across the globe has been living through the COVID-19 pandemic, and with my experience in the biotechnology industry, I wanted to forecast what may be expected in the upcoming winter months for where I currently live, which is in the state of Maryland. This project is completed as part of the Data 620 course for UMGC for Professor Carrie Beam. Before I forecasted for Maryland, I wanted to see how COVID-19 is doing in various parts of the country and the U.S. as a whole. Using geographical data provided by the CDC, Tableau shows that the three highest states with the COVID mortalities are California, Texas, and Florida. And then by comparison, Maryland, which has a much lighter shade of blue, is a lot less severe. So in order to get a more quantitative comparison between the states, this Pareto chart confirms that California, Texas, and Florida have about 6 times more deaths each than my home state of Maryland, which has 22,000. And for comparison, California has 146,000, Texas 140,000, and Florida 109,000. Also, a typical Pareto analysis where 80% of the deaths occur in 20% of the states, in which case 10 states, is not occurring here. This is most likely due to the nature of the pandemic not isolating itself to certain areas of the country, and that all states are at a decent risk of exposure. Since COVID-19 is a novel disease, I wanted to see what comparisons could be made between COVID and any of these diseases, and if there was any correlation between them to use for my forecasting. So the diseases that are part of the CDC weekly provisional death counts and select causes report since early 2020 are Alzheimer's, cerebrovascular disease, COVID-19 with underlying causes, COVID-19 as the main cause, diabetes, and then influenza and pneumonia grouped together. For all of these, they all have an approximate R-squared value of approximately 0.6, meaning that it's not a very strong correlation. However, in a separate data set where influenza and pneumonia have been split apart by the CDC, we see here that COVID-19 deaths and pneumonia have an R-squared value of 0.92, meaning that there is a high correlation between these two, and it gives me more confidence to then use it in my forecasting. So for the time series for my forecast for the winter 2022, we have the data from the start of the pandemic in early of 2020 to now in mid-October, with the forecast going until March of 2022. In this time series, I have split apart the age groups 18 to 64, which is my age group, and then ages 65 and older, which are my parents and my grandmother, to see how the difference between the two would be for this upcoming winter. Then I also added the pneumonia to see how strong the correlation is and how accurate the forecast would be. For COVID-19, we see that it has been relatively steady in Maryland for both 18 to 64. However, there is a downtrend seen for 65 and over and a flat trend for 18 to 64. The forecasted for 65 and over is about 200 deaths. However, I think that it will probably decrease given this trend for the winter months. However, given the initial spike in these winter months, I'm not 100% sure in this forecast. However, vaccines are now in play where they were not in those previous winter months. For pneumonia, we will see that this trend is relatively similar for both age groups, with this is a slight downtrend but relatively flat with 350 deaths, and then 100 deaths for the 18 to 64 group. And then here are my references for the data sets. Thank you and have a good evening.